Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We covered talking about tasawwur and tasdeeq, and we explained that tasawwur means conceptualizing, tasdeeq means passing that judgment or assent. We also said that logic is divided into the part where you accumulate, where you gather, where you bring together the information, and that is called the Mantiq the madda of the Mantiq, the content of the logic, right? So you have the madda or the content, right? The material, and then the second part is the form or the surah. This is why we say maddatul mantiq and then the suratul mantiq, with, of course, the part of the logic as far as the material of logic, as you know, which is studied towards the end. There are 5 different skills that ultimately you want to learn. Number 1 is the skill of a solid proof, flawless argument, and that is called burhan. And then the second one is that you have the skill of debating, yarhamakumullah, that you learn the skill of debating and arguing and winning over your opposition, and that is called jadal. Anyone writing these down, or you already know them? Here on page number 13, right down next to it, demonstrative argument, burhan, dialectic, jadal. Not dajjal, jadal. What's dajjal mean? Dajjal. The third skill that you want to learn in logic is al-khitabah, the skill of delivery, the skill of rhetoric, public speaking, mathalan.
Is it rhetoric like the way you speak? Like,
Yep.
Not as in like the language you use?
Yep.
Okay.
Number 4 that you want to maybe learn, but you need to define, you need to recognize, because something that resembles a correct argument but is an incorrect argument is a fallacious argument, a fallacy, which is not something that a genuine person wants to use, but you need to know what it is so you're able to quickly say, hey, that's a fallacy that you are mentioning, by the way. In logic, this is called mughalatah, right? Mughalatah. So the first is burhan, the second is jadal, the third is khitabah, the fourth is mughalatah, and the fifth is shi'r. Why? Because shi'r is encaptivating. Did I use that word right? Encaptivating. Who said no? It's encaptivating. You are able to gain someone's attention, right? And convey a very strong message through poetry, especially if it's nice poetry, not that poetry that this guy is. You don't know how I am, by the way. I'm good with that stuff. Huh? Inshallah, Murtada, we'll speak about that later on, about my skill, my 5th skill. Okay, so these are ultimately the things that you want to learn. What is the objective for ilm al-Mantiq and studying ilm al-Mantiq. The objective, the goal for studying ilm al-Mantiq, the ghaya for studying ilm al-Mantiq is for you to be able to have al-Tafkir al-Sahih. You learning the general principles in order for you to be able to think correctly, away from emotions, away from desires, away from negative influence, away from wrong, false information, away from fallacy. That's the objective of logic. That's the goal that you have in studying logic. Why? Because it gives your mind that level of ismah. If you were to correctly observe it, right? The goal of, who reads this? Where is Abbas? The goal of, no one wants to hear your voice, Ali. The goal of studying logic is, isn't that true? Was I wrong or was I right? That no one wants to hear his voice. See, the goal of studying logic, read it, Ali, quickly.
The goal of studying logic is to know the general principles of correct thinking. This is done through getting to know the correct ways that lead to scientific tasawwur and
Tasadduq. See, that's why you say, Sheikh, why don't you let Ali read? Tasdeeq. Because you're not paying attention in our daris, that's why. This is done through getting to know the correct ways that lead to al-tasawwur al-ilmi, al-tasdeeq al-ilmi. Scientific here means al-ilmi, right? That level of ilm and knowledge that you have in what is tasawwur and what is tasdeeq. Carry on.
And it positively reflects on the foundations of human thought. This will lead to having a correct and realistic worldview and will be the basis for having a true ideology.
Okay, so something that you learn in logic. Something that you learn in logic, of course, is going to be correct thinking, right? Correct thinking is very important because it's going to invite you into a whole realm of how you are able to see things with right eyes. And of course, that is the world view that you have. What kind of world view do you have? In Arabic, we call this al-ru'ya al-kawniyya. In Farsi, they say jahan bini. Right? Now, what does it mean? It means, of course, this is also very much relevant to epistemology. Some of the right? Some of the students, I did have an online course on epistemology. If you don't know what it is, don't worry. Later on, inshallah, you'll come to know about it. We've spoken about this before. But this is all to do with ma'rifah, because episteme means ma'rifah. It means recognition. It means understanding. It means knowledge, right? So what does a worldview mean? A worldview means how you evaluate, how you define your very understanding of your purpose on this earth. What objective do you have? Why are you here? what do you see this world to do? Is your worldview a worldview that is based on values and principles and spiritual connection? Is your worldview a materialist worldview? Do you believe that there's no objective to life other than you following your desires? Do you think that there is no afterlife? Do you believe it's all about what you want? Do you think that worldview is to become someone like Greta? What's her name? Greta? Yeah? Or is it Elon Musk? Or is it to Andrew Tate? Or is it this? Or is it that? What is your worldview? Do you want to start becoming this kind of person or that kind of person? What is your worldview? Everyone has a worldview. Maybe you haven't put it under that category. Maybe you haven't defined it as this title, but everyone has a worldview. What develops from a worldview is an ideology. What develops from a worldview is an ideology. So, مثلا, for example, my worldview is that there is something more than this material realm, and I have an obligation to attain perfection and make sure that in every act that I do, I am pleasing my Creator because I will be returning to Him. That's my worldview, مثلا. Based on this worldview, what kind of ideology do I have? My ideology, my mindset that I have is, for example, that justice must always prevail at any cost. My ideology is that I must make sure that I respect the teachings of God and implement the laws of my religion. Ideology is only one part of religion. It's not the whole part of your religion. But that's the mindset. We're talking about the backdrop of who you are as a human being. Logic helps you in doing that, because logic gives you that balance in how it is that you're going to be treating all of the information around you. Okay? When you adjust your worldview and your ideology, everything else goes smooth after that. Because if you are fixated on a wrong worldview, on a wrong ideology, then a lot of things are going to start falling apart, especially when it comes to your relationship with your Lord. Because you no longer have right direction. You no longer have meaning in what it is that you are doing in this dunya, in this life of yours. Right? And that's why here it says, this will lead you to having a correct and a realistic worldview, which of course will become the foundation, the basis for having a true ideology, which will ultimately define the way you behave in this world and what your fate will be in the hereafter, where you're going to end up in the next world. Carry on, Ali. A worldview.
A worldview being a set of views and general philosophical theories related to human existence. The world in its origins and what is known in theology as the foundation of belief,
Usul al-Aqaid, or we call it Usul al-Din. Remember we spoke about that for those who come on Friday. We spoke a little bit about that on Friday nights. Carry on.
What is meant by ideology is a set of rules and general laws that behavior of the human being in his worldly life, which branches out from his worldview and is called the branches of religion. Thereby, whoever does not respect the principles of logic or does not observe its laws when applying it is liable to ideological deviation.
Ideological deviation. يعني if you haven't done your proper homework, if you haven't done what it is that you need to do in working on your foundation, you are going to be prone to inhiraf, to deviation, to be misguided ideologically in your thoughts, right? And that's why you look at this nice diagram, huh? It took me 6 hours to make. General principles for correct thinking. Who does that? Which science does that? Logic. From that, your worldview. From that, your ideology. From that, that is going to reflect on your conduct and your behavior. You're not going to misbehave. You're not going to engage in haram things, in bad things, in illegal things if you have a strong ideology, if that's based on a stronger world view, because your direction in life will always be the right way. Okay? Question and answer.
Argue that the Prophet ﷺ did not explain the principles of logic. They came for guiding mankind and to safeguard people from their theological, moral, and behavioral deviations. And this could be the best evidence to invalidate the claim of logicians, being that whoever does not study logic is liable and vulnerable to deviation. Because if it was as they claim, then the prophets would be more rightful of it than anyone else. Or they, far be it from them, would have neglected their duty and did not save the nations from deviation. Answer.
So, what's this question basically saying? That you're saying that logic is going to give you correct way of thinking. Anbiya alayhim salam didn't speak anything about studying logic. They didn't tell you you must study Aristotle and you must learn logic. So they also didn't say if you don't study logic, then you will be liable to be misguided and deviated. So did the Prophet not convey their message in the right way? Is there something that we are missing out on? If logic is so important, what's the answer to this?
Sound intellectual instinct, which is the foundation of logic, is enough to understand the general and simple invitation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi that is in line with the human fitrah. Their alayhi salam invitation was directed to all people and based on representing religious beliefs in a simple and general way, far from depending on practical methodology. In observing religious laws and noble teachings that they received via revelation and what would lead to human perfection and to the status of divine proximity.
Okay, so مثلا the Anbiya alayhim salam have all invited people to think with their brains and think with their intellect. That's logic because that's fitrah. And logic deals with that. Logic just dissects the thought process of what your brain is going through. So the Anbiya did do that. The Anbiya alayhim salam did say, go and think correctly, think with reason, think with rationality, think with your intellect, think with your brain. But then logic as a science came and dissected all of that, expanded in this area. The art of logic, carry on.
The art of logic has been established for those who want to delve deep into the seas of knowledge on an expert level in order to become a scholar and a researcher. A person might sit down on the beachfront and would not have a need to learn how to swim. But those who want to dive into the abyss of the sea,
Abbas,
abyss
Abbas.
of the sea must learn to swim. And also the same thing is applicable to other disciplines and sciences, as it becomes necessary for those who want to specialize and become experts in that field, and not other people.
Okay. Foundation 7 is basically saying that what is the connection, what is the relation that logic has with other ulum. What is logic in relation to other ulum? We've said that ilm al-Mantiq is referred to as al-Ulum, the mother of sciences, al-Ulum, right? Of course, which means that it precedes many other ulum, especially rational sciences. You want to study theology properly, you want to study philosophy, you want to study mysticism, irfan, you want to study usul al-Fiqh. These sciences, you need to have studied logic before that. But again, logic is only a tool science. It's a ilmun ali. It's an instrumental science used for other ulum. Carry on.
Foundation 7. The position of a science within other science. It has been previously explained that logic teaches us the way and conditions of correct thinking, and is an instrumental science that is not studied for itself as a goal, but as a tool to research and study other sciences. Therefore, some have called it the servant of sciences, which is what makes it precedent in acquiring to other sciences.
Yeah, servant of sciences, يعني خادم العلوم. Carry on.
This is so that students' mind is organized and armed with the principles of correct thought before delving into knowledge and sciences.
Okay. Foundation 8.
Foundation 8. The methodological approach used in studying the issues in this science.
What do you use for logic? What do you use for logic? The methodology that you used for ilm al-Mantiq is burhan, is reason. Carry on.
The methodology that is used in researching the issues of logic is the method of intellectual rational arguments, and it's an instinctive, natural, and simple form. It is based on the self-evident principles that are self-explanatory by essence in its material, and also in arranging them in a way that is self-evident in its conclusion. This is the end of explaining the 8 foundations of the discipline of logic. And next will be the primary discussions of this science. Okay,
so that means that in our next daris, inshallah, we're going to start with logic itself. So all of this was a muqaddimah, studying al-ru'us al-thamaniya, the eight points for explaining what logic is. And then in our next lesson, we're going to start with logic. The first topic in ilm al-Mantiq is usually dalala, indication. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.